what's up? This is Josh and Kelsey here at the finals of the AHL All-Star Game in Springfield, Mass. You're watching Post to Post.
Hello and welcome to Post to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. This video is going to be the first of 4 where we go through each division and each team and let you guys know our favorite player on every single team. Now, we've actually done this in the past.
We have.
But it was probably about a year and a half, maybe a year and 8 to 10 months ago. And so many trades and free agency has happened. It's like the players are everywhere now. So we thought we'd kind of update our list a little bit and let you guys know because you guys have actually been asking for this. So yeah, not a problem on our part. We made a little list here. I don't know yours. You don't know mine. We're going to go through each team at a time. And of course, this is the Atlantic. I'm donning some Boston Bruins merchandise and
something I would never do.
The arch enemy of the Bruins, the Canadiens fan over there. So we've got all the jerseys in the back, and maybe we can go through from Tampa to Buffalo in that order.
Okay,
and
sure.
These are no specific order.
The jerseys aren't in any order of standings.
Completely random. Yep.
Like, when did Ottawa get into third place? Hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Maybe next year in the first 15 days, and then... Just kidding.
Anyway, we'll see.
All right.
Good luck to them.
I'd like to give you the opportunity to name your players first, so... If you
Okay.
Tell me your favorite player from Tampa Bay. And you don't need a lengthy explanation. Some of these...
Do you know me from before? Do you know my past history of explanations?
Yeah. Some of my picks are literally just... Yeah, okay. Like, there's just some teams I don't really have favorite players for, but I just put a name down, basically. So if you don't have an explanation, you just want to say the name, that's fine.
I have a little explanation probably for most of them.
Okay.
Ryan McDonough for Tampa. I've been following his career since he was drafted by Montreal in 2007. He was given away by Montreal to the Rangers in exchange for Scott Gomez, of all people.
I know.
And Ryan McDonough is a solid defenseman and has been. He's turned into a franchise player for Tampa Bay. Good for them and good for him. And I hope he excels, and I hope every time he scores a goal or lays a hit on, Montreal winces because they let him get away like that. It was dumb. So good for Ryan McDonough to be on a team that actually wants him. Good for him.
Throughout these 4 videos, I think you'll notice a little bit of a trend with me, maybe with you as well. Even though I am wearing Boston merchandise, I am a Canadiens fan, and a lot of my favorite players from other teams are players that used to play in Montreal. So I completely understand your pick there, even though McDonough didn't actually play a game for Montreal. Get traded before he got a chance to play.
They didn't even give him a chance.
Yeah, and even when McDonough played against Montreal, regardless of the team that he played for, he always plays really well. So yeah, that's a good pick. I like that pick.
All right.
My pick is Braden Points. As soon as he entered the NHL, even before, I started to follow his career a little bit before he entered the NHL, and I could just tell. You could just tell how good of a player that he was going to be. He's on a team with Kucherov and Stamkos and all these big names, and he still stands out. He still stands out and puts up big points and makes big plays and scores big goals. So I really like Points' play. He plays in the shadow of these big superstars, but still is a superstar on his own, in my opinion. So I'm a huge fan of Braden Point.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
Who's next?
You can't turn around. It's Boston.
All right.
Boston next. It was close because I really have a lot of respect for Patrice Bergeron. I think he's a great player. I think he'd be a great player on any team, though. And when I was choosing a player for Boston, I was trying to choose a player that had a really good fit with the Boston hockey culture. And I think that's Charlie Mcavoy. Mm-hmm. Charlie McAvoy is a great performer, local boy, man, I guess you'd say now, and he's got really good performance on the scoring sheet. He's not a goon, but when someone needs to be mugged, he can lay the mugging on too. So yeah, I like McAvoy.
He's not afraid to fight. He's not afraid to hit.
Yeah,
he'll do whatever he can, and so he's a good all around defenseman.
He's a typical Boston player.
Yeah,
like from the Bruins, I remember from
in
the
good
70s. In a good way, like the
way.
Wayne Cashmans and people like that. Like I see McAvoy in that same mold. So
yeah, definitely.
I like him.
Good choice. I actually almost picked McAvoy. He'd probably be in my top. I think I had him in my top 4. So I do like McAvoy. He's a little inconsistent with his as far as play, but yeah, he does take some costly penalties at times too. But my pick is DeBrusk. Again, just kind of a small player, a little bit like Point, and he kind of plays in the shadow of Bergeron and Marchand and Pasternak and Krejci and stuff. But DeBrusk is still trying. He's trying to make a name for himself, and you'll see that as a trend a little bit in my list. I really like to cheer for underdog players and underdog teams, so DeBrusk totally fits in there, and I love the style of play. He's quick and he's so good with his hands. So DeBrusk for me.
Ottawa, it was tough because there's nobody left. But
as we're filming this,
and this is a case where there's a couple of teams where I picked the player just based on their name.
So the person you picked has a funny name or a
Rodolphe Spalsers.
Okay,
that's an awesome name. He's a Latvian player. He was drafted in the 5th round by San Jose. He came over in the trade for Carlson. And he's actually done not too badly. He's played quite well, and I just love his name. So I have no good reason because there's no one. I really like Mark Stone. I really like some of the other players Ottawa had that are now gone. Mm-hmm. So I think if Stone was still on the team, I would have picked him, but he ain't there. So it's Rodolphe Spalsers.
All right, sounds good. Mine is actually DeMello.
Because
he came over in the trade with San Jose. And if you guys don't know, San Jose is my second favorite team. And I've been following DeMello for a while. So this was an easy pick for me, DeMello.
Yeah, he's got a nice touch.
Tierney's on the team as well. He used to play for San Jose. But I really like DeMello. He's just a young guy and finding his way in the game. So
yeah. Next, the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was tough because being a Montreal fan and being a pretty passionate one, I'm almost programmed to Toronto Maple Leaf players are just blue guys that I don't know who they are. But obviously you can't ignore the Leafs, especially this year. They're doing so well. I really think what John Tavares has gone through, being a local boy, all those years he played in the island, he's back in Toronto, took some heat down on Long Island and withstood it quite well. The team didn't that night. They lost the game badly, but he went through that baptism of fire as a Leaf. He's delivering. He's second on the team in scoring. He's the whole package, and he's my guy.
Ooh, that's not going to be a favorable one with the audience, I don't think.
It's not,
but it's okay. He's a very good player. Mine is Kasperi Kapanen.
Oh yeah.
I have a thing for Finnish players. Saku Koivu has always been my favorite player, so I always pay a little bit more attention to Finnish players, and I really love Kapanen's play. I probably would have chosen Marleau. That would have been the easy choice because Marleau was one of my favorite players when he was with San Jose, but not so much since he's come to Toronto. So Kapanen it is for me. I really like this style of play, and yeah.
Right on. Very good. Okay, next we have the Montreal Canadiens. I've heard of them. This was difficult because being a Montreal fan, I'm programmed to like them all, and roughly equally. It's like if you had 10 kids, which one do you love the most? Well, technically, you love them all exactly the same, but you probably still have a favorite. Wasn't a problem here with the math. My favorite player in the Montreal Canadiens is Brendan Gallagher. He's and I have, you'll see a pattern with me too. Players that were drafted low, that were not expected to necessarily work out. They were more of an experimental pick. Mm-hmm. In this case, Gallagher picked in the 5th round. Probably was at the time likely a 7-round draft, just as a chance, as a throw in, and look what he's done. He shows an amazing amount of drive and energy to make up for the size difference that he has with most other players in the league, and he's just all about going to the net and getting in the dirty areas and being just so much of a grinder, and he still is able to score goals. And the goals he's getting this year aren't necessarily just deflections in front of the net. He's out in the slot sometimes.
Worked on his wrist shot.
And he's rifling some nice ones into the twine. So Brendan Gallagher all the way.
Yeah, good choice. Mine is actually Joel Armia.
Oh, Armia.
So, I got the chance to watch him play in the playoffs last year in Vegas, and he's the kind of player that on Winnipeg that I followed on the ice. I don't know why. I don't know. He had a great series, even though that they lost, and I technically was cheering for Vegas, but he was just everywhere on the ice. I really felt like he had a great series, and that kind of opened my eyes up a little bit to Armia. And then he got traded to Montreal. I was like, heck yeah! So, I'm all about him.
And he's done well.
And he's done very well.
Very well.
He's done very well. He's his puck protection. Like he reminds me a little bit of Yager away. He's very good at protecting the puck and a very good stick handler. And I see a lot of potential in him. So
Nice. Very good. Up next, we have the Detroit Red Wings. This was tough for me because there are a lot of players I like on Detroit. I generally like the team, and I like its culture, and I like the players that are on the team. If I had to pick one, and I am going to, it's going to be Anthony Mantha. He's got a great hockey heritage, and I was really hoping Montreal would draft him. I was watching the draft knowing on the year he was available, but they didn't pick him. But I have to give an honorable mention as well to Nicolas Kronwall. He's been around for a long, long time. He was drafted like 19 years ago, and he was on the last Cup-winning team they had. And he's not the only one, but he's the one who carries the legacy, I guess along to an extent with Jimmy Howard, but mostly Kronwall, I think, carries that legacy from the Cup-winning team into the present day to help inoculate or inculcate the culture into these newer, younger players like Mantha and Athanasiou, who I also really like. So that was a tough one for Detroit, but I went with Mantha.
I almost picked Mantha, but then I realized that Philip Zadina plays for Detroit. He's only played a couple games, but we get a chance. I don't know if you did. Maybe I shouldn't say we, but I get a chance to see Zadina play in Charlottetown probably like 3 or 4 times because he played in the Q before he played in the NHL and AHL.
Played with Halifax, right?
Yes. I think it was Halifax.
I think so, too.
And, so I got to see him play in person. That's not something I can say for a lot of players in the NHL, that I got to see them play before they went into the NHL. So I guess I've been following his career even before I knew he was going to be a Detroit Red Wing. So that was an easy pick for me.
Nice.
Philip Zadina. Yeah.
Very good. Now I got to turn around. Who's next? Florida. Florida coming up next. This was kind of tough. I finally went with Alexander Barkhov, though.
I did as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's basically a point-a-game player, but hardly ever in the penalty box. He's only got like two minor penalties all year. So he's a clean player. He's a highly producing player. He's just got crazy skill.
He does, and he's a big guy. He's not afraid to hit, to lay the body. He's very sportsmanlike, and I've been following Barkov's career since he's played with Jagr. Him and Jagr played on a line for basically Jagr's entire tenure in Florida, and Jagr basically took him under his wing and grew his game. And I know Barkov he said many times how thankful he is that he got that opportunity to play with Jagr, and you could see it on the ice. And I think that really helped his game. And I really like that short little relationship that they had, and it got me on to Barkov, and I've been watching him ever since and paying attention to him. So
very good, excellent. Well, we have one team left, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the Buffalo Sabres over my left shoulder. Buffalo has had a lot of turnover in the last year or two. But of all the players they've acquired, the one I like the best is one of their pickups from Carolina, and that's Jeff Skinner.
Yeah.
He's tremendous.
He is.
He was tremendous when he was in Carolina. From the time he was drafted and he was a rookie and early in his career, he was putting up amazing numbers, and he was incredibly skilled. It's a loss for Carolina not to have him, especially now that they're in the push, and they could very well eke into the playoffs here. But he's been a great benefit to Buffalo, and he's on pace for a career year. As good as he's played in Carolina over the last 8 or 9 years, this could be the best year he's played ever so far in his career in Buffalo. And he's just a wonderful player, so he's my guy.
Yeah, I actually almost picked him as well, but for me it's Connor Sherry. There's a funny little joke that goes around about Sidney Crosby, and they say, Sidney Crosby is not that great of a player. He just gets really lucky that every single person who plays on his line has the best career of their life before they move on.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know, Connor Sherry used to play in a line with Crosby and played very well. And I think Connor Sherry is an example of someone who's played with Crosby, gone on past Crosby to a new team, and has done very well for himself, and still can shine in his own spotlight a little bit. And do very well. He's a small player. I tend to like small players as well. He's fast, very hockey smart, and it's pretty much an easy pick for me. But Skinner was close.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, great.
That's
I
it.
believe that's all 8 of the Atlantic Division.
That is it. Last team scratched off. Next we can do the Metro, keep it in the Eastern Conference, and then we'll move on to the Western Conference and stuff. So
looking forward to it.
You can expect to see the next video in a couple of days. So thank you very much for watching this one. If you're not subscribed, hope you can hit the subscribe button and join us for that next one. And hope you're watching lots of hockey. Adios.